and hello, everybody. My name is Lawrence Kahn. As Dan mentioned, I'm actually originally from South Africa, although I've lived here for 43 years, I think. In any event, I'm the co-founder and principal of a California-based company called Pro-One, and we're the manufacturers of proprietary lubrication and fuel technologies. My partners and most of the folks in my company have strong backgrounds in motor racing, which is where these products were originally developed for NHRA, which is drag racing, NASCAR, and others, including boat racing. We market these products to industry, including the oil and gas industry, actually. We sell our lubricants to lubricant companies like ExxonMobil and Shell, and even Saudi Aramco for use in their drilling. But our fuel technology is sold primarily for trucking and engine applications in industrial. So we partnered with the BEPIC, and we're so excited about this, to bring this technology to hundreds of thousands of consumers who, Dan, as you mentioned, could never have imagined a moment in time where they'd see gas that, at least in California, here is about over $6 a gallon if you're lucky.
Incredible. One of the questions that we're quite often asked is the safety behind this product, and it always kind of comes up, is this product EPA registered?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, to sell a product in the US that's added to fuel, you have to be EPA registered. And we have been EPA registered since, I believe, 2009 with this product. It took an inordinate amount of time and money to get through that EPA process, because while all other fuel additives can simply fly through by virtue of their ingredients, the EPA had not seen a product like this, a catalyst. And they had to go through special approval committees and so on to get it approved. But yeah, we are registered. You can find it online on EPA's website under fuel additives that are approved under the name Fuel Maximizer from Pro-One.
Fantastic. Lawrence, what's the difference, or what really makes this product different with the BECO fuel tabs than all of the regular fuel additives that you'd maybe see at a typical AutoZone or Walmart, or someplace like that?
So great question, Dan. They are as different as night and day. It starts with just the size of the product. As you know, the other products, STP, Lucas, and a million others, and there are many, many on the market, are typically 8 to 12 ounce bottles. You apply all of that to a tank. Our product uses 1 gram of a catalyst. It works completely differently, as I'll explain in just a minute. Those other fuel additives are simply fuel conditioners. In order to get through the EPA registration, they have to have 1 or more of 5 ingredients, and those are the same ingredients already found in fuel. So they simply are adding more of the stuff already in fuel, sulfur and so on. BECO fuel tabs are completely different. This is a catalyst. It's, as you know, a very, very small pill, and as you might know, catalysts can do amazing things with chemistry with a very small amount of product in them. So it's totally different. Our product is all active ingredients, whereas those others, it's not active at all. And our product, well now your product, actually changes the process of the burn in the combustion chamber. Ordinary fuel additives do not do that. So it's a very different product. In short, this is a catalyst and not just a conditioner.
Fantastic. And I think that's one thing that a lot of people get a little bit confused on. And so with that being said, how do the fuel tabs actually work?
So again, if you think about a catalyst in chemistry, what it does is it's lowering the ignition temperature of the air-fuel mixture. In other words, it lowers the temperature at which the fuel burns. So if you can imagine, if you can lower the temperature, the fuel starts burning earlier and it sustains or continues for longer. If you can start burning earlier and burn for a longer period of time in the combustion chamber, guess what? You're going to get more energy out of the fuel, and more of the fuel will be burned correctly as opposed to unburned fuel, which is essentially emissions. So the goal is to get as close to 100% burn as possible. And by using the fuel tabs, you can increase that percentage to be very close to 100%, which means more energy, more BTUs, or more mileage, if you like, and less emissions or unburned fuel out of the tailpipe. So it works and does both of those things simultaneously by giving you simply put, a more complete burn.
Fantastic, Lawrence. And you kind of already answered the next question, but a lot of people are asking, what are the actual benefits of this product? You kind of already went over potentially increased fuel mileage, less emissions. Anything else?
Yeah, well, those are the keys. Then you get more power, which means more and better fuel economy, more mileage. Of course, that's an environmental benefit today, because if you can get another 50, 80, 100 miles out of a tank of gas, there is an environmental benefit to you, to the planet, and an economic benefit to yourself. As we say, you save green and do green at the same time. Yes, reduced emissions. The poorer the quality of fuel, the greater that percentage will be of reducing emissions. We've seen it as high as 90% in one country, 90% reduction in emissions, which is incredible. But you're also keeping the engine cleaner. You're keeping the oil cleaner for longer. So there is less maintenance as well. But the primary goal is to produce more energy out of the fuel, which means more power and or more fuel economy, better fuel economy.
It's interesting you say that, especially about the oil changing. We've actually had a couple testimonials of people that have taken their vehicles in to have the oil changed, and the people actually asked, "Did you just recently change the oil?" Because it was so clean. So we're hearing all these same benefits that you're saying. So it's always exciting when the testimonials that we hear are exactly what the product's designed to do.
Fantastic.
One question that a lot of people have, just because this is a little bit different than some additives, are they compatible with both fuel or gasoline and diesel? And are the benefits the same for gasoline as diesel?
So yeah, sure. Let me take those one at a time. They are compatible with all fuels, gasoline or diesel, all grades of fuels. They're even compatible with racing fuels, by the way, which is octane 110 or more. There's a slight difference with diesel, and as I mentioned, it's good with either diesel or gasoline. There's a slight difference with diesel in that you're actually also going to reduce a lot of soot in the engine and coming out the tailpipe, the black smoke, and as well as the other emissions, both visible and invisible. And you'll also see a reduction of DEF, or DEF fluid as it's known, or urea, simply because of the way it's cleaning up the emissions and lowering the temperature of the engine and therefore the exhaust. So all these things come together, but fundamentally the differences are very slight. The catalyst works in either type of fuel. It just does a few little extra things in diesel that are not relevant to gasoline, for example. But any gas, any diesel, grade.
And that's also something that we've heard a lot on people that have diesel with DEF that haven't done a DEF conversion or something. In many cases, we're hearing it drop the use of DEF down to 75% or more, which is a fantastic savings in addition to what they're saving on, the increased or potential increased mileage and stuff like that. Right. So again, I always love when you have a product that does what you say it does, and we hear about that from hundreds and hundreds of testimonials, even as short as we've had this product just over the last 3 or 4 months, but there's still been literally hundreds of thousands or more tanks ran through it. So we're hearing a lot of testimonials, and it's really exciting. Here's one of the main concerns that we have, and it's mostly out of some past products. I don't have any knowledge of the past products or haven't seen any proof that the things are even true of what some of the people are saying. But with this fuel catalyst, with specifically the B-Eco fuel tabs, can using these tabs void a warranty?
So this question comes up a lot, especially on the industrial side of our business, where people are putting it into, multi-million-dollar pieces of equipment. The short answer is no. It cannot void a warranty. In fact, there is legislation in the US called the Magnuson-Moss Act, which specifically prevents a manufacturer of an OEM of a vehicle from voiding a warranty just because somebody used an additive. They actually have to prove that the additive caused the problem in the first place. I will tell you that companies like Lucas, STP, and many others would not be around if this was the case. So absolutely, they cannot void a warranty, nor is there any need to. All we're doing with this product is improving the fuel quality and allowing the engine to run more optimally. We're not changing the engine. We're certainly doing no harm to the engine. One other point, we have been marketing this and our other lubricant products for 15 years almost. And of course, we have tremendous product liability insurance because of the nature of the customers we deal with. And I will tell you, we have never had a claim, not one claim in 15 years, and none of our customers have ever made a claim. There is no harm that can come from using this product, only good. And either way, the OEM cannot void the warranty by law.
Fantastic. And I think that's one of the most common questions that people have is, how do I know this isn't going to damage my vehicle? Whether it costs, 20,000 or 2 million, like you're saying, people have kind of the same concerns. And I usually basically say the same thing. If the actual manufacturers of the engines were worried about it, they would void it without question.
And the
there's a lot of
EPA
things that void engines and or void warranties, excuse me, that cause no harm to the engine, but yet they still void them because they don't want you to change with non-original parts and stuff like that. And so I do think that that's something that is very powerful that people should understand. And in addition to that, we've done, for sure, no question, hundreds of thousands of tanks already with the BE-ECO fuel tabs. You guys have probably done tens of millions of tanks over those years, and to not even have one claim is amazing. Now, one of the things going along with this, all the questions are a little bit the same. People kind of have the same concerns here, but how do people know, or how can people be sure that that the tablets actually dissolve in the fuel?
So this question does come up quite a bit, and I know you yourself have done this testing with just in a cup of fuel with a little bit of agitation. It just takes a few minutes. What happens as soon as you leave the gas station, having filled up your tank and put in the fuel tablet, the fuel itself is moving. There's enough agitation in there that within a matter of minutes, literally, you will have complete dissolving of the tablet. And that doesn't matter what type of fuel or what the temperature is. So it will dissolve completely in just a matter of minutes because of the agitation of the fuel on the tablet.
Yeah, and we actually did a video. One of our distributors actually did a video. I didn't do it myself. And it was very cold, below freezing here in Utah. Yeah. And he just had it in a plastic cup and was just slight agitation with a fork, and it dissolved, I think, in that time. And it took about 4 minutes, but that wasn't near the agitation. If you think you drop this in a tank, just the pressure of the gas coming out of the hose is going to cause way more agitation than just stirring it every 20 or 30 seconds with a little fork. So we've done this ourselves. Obviously, you guys have done different things also that we're very confident. And when it dissolved in the test that we did, it dissolved completely. I mean, you didn't see any residue at all at the bottom of the cup. It was completely resolved. So you guys have done a fantastic job on your formulation. So I want to give you credit for that. And
thank you for that.
Again, we're super excited about it. Here's another question that I personally have experience with. So I could probably answer this question, but I'll let you do it instead. How do you use this product, the fuel tabs, with hybrid cars?
So yeah, this question, of course, comes up more and more, and especially where we live in Southern California, it seems that every other car is either a hybrid or electric car. Of course, on a hybrid, you'd use it the same way with the gasoline portion of it. So when it's running on gasoline, you'll get the same benefits, and it's going to work exactly the same way. Of course, when it's running on battery power, you're not going to see the benefits of the product particularly. So overall, most people see a lesser percentage savings than they would with a regular gasoline car. But to the extent it's running on gasoline, you're going to get better economy and less emissions and all the same benefits that would accrue if it was 100% gasoline. Has that been your experience, Dan?
It's been my experience. I mean, really, there's no difference in the engine. It's just part-time that runs electric. Most of the time it runs off of gasoline. I would say most hybrids are still probably 90% of the time running off of gasoline, just like any other vehicle. But I actually did the most of my testing in a Toyota Prius.
Yeah.
that averages about 55 miles to the gallon. And the Priuses actually get better gas mileage in town typically than they do on a freeway, because on the freeway, you're using the gas part a lot more. When you're stop and go and stuff like that, it's using the electric part more. So a lot of hybrids are the exact opposite of other vehicles that do better on the highway than they do in the city. Most hybrids do better in the city. I tested up both, and I ran 10 tanks through both ways, and the average was close to 70 to 80 miles, close to 80 miles more on average. Not every tank. I'm going to be very clear that it didn't do better on every tank, but there's a lot of different situations, different speeds, different everything. That's why I tried to do it on 10 tanks. And so I saw a pretty significant difference. Gasoline here in Utah is a little bit less than California. We're about $4.20 for like 87 octane, which I put in that vehicle. But even there, it's about 1.5 gallons savings at 80 miles. So you're looking at, you know, $6 or $7, maybe even close to $8 per tablet savings. So it's been significant even with one of the most economical vehicles. And also I want to point out before we move on, it's very difficult to be super scientific about testing this, because everything affects the mileage in your car, the weather, the stop and go traffic. I've had some people say that, why do the same route every day? Yeah, but the traffic's not the same every day. The weather's not the same every day. All of these other issues are not the same every day. So it doesn't work, you know, as scientific by us just trying to test ourselves. So that kind of brings us to this next question. And it says, you know, sometimes we're getting testimonials of people saving 10 to 20% on their gas, and others don't see any savings at all. I think part of that personally is because it's very difficult to track, because you have to track so much more than just your mileage based on the weather, how fast you're driving, how the traffic was, did you know, run into a store and leave the car running. All of these different things affect that. But would you just give your thoughts on that? Why are the improvements quite different from person to person?
No, you've certainly hit on some of them, Dan. I've actually lived this. My partner has a Lincoln. He got 22 to 25% consistent improvement, and he does have the same commuting route, pretty much identical every time. So that was fairly reliable. I would get, you know, around 5 to 10 easily, sometimes more. Very difficult to measure as a consumer, because as you pointed out, one, you may feel more power. So if you're used to going up a hill, like here we have the Grapevine in California, and we have people reporting to us, they used to have to take it in second gear, and now they're in third or fourth gear. Same thing with trucks. So sometimes you feel more power, which is essentially more horsepower, not necessarily better mileage. Every drive is different. Every route and every day you take is different with the stop starts and how heavy your foot is. It varies by engine. It varies greatly by the quality of the fuel. We see that around the world, a huge difference based on quality of fuel. Obviously, the better the fuel, the less room there is to optimize. The worse the fuel, the more room there is to optimize, the better improvement you can get. And obviously, if there's any mechanical issues going on, dirty filters or injectors, while it does some cleaning, if there's a mechanical problem, that's going to impact your mileage as well. So there is a way around this. The computer in the vehicles will sometimes compensate for the change in combustion. So there are some people who reset the computer and disconnect the battery and go through all that. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, because having done that is a pain to try and get your radio stations and your seat position and all those things back. I would just say this, that I have a Jeep Grand Cherokee. It cost me $138 the other day to fill it up. I couldn't believe it. And if I'm getting a 10% fuel savings, I'm pretty happy with that. You know, that's very significant. Not everybody has a 23-gallon tank who's paying $6 for gas, but proportionately, people will invariably save more than the product, and they'll get all these additional benefits of the cleaner engine, the more power, and of course, the environmental benefits of having less emissions. So, but there's so many variables, it is difficult to measure. One other thing I would say, we, of course, being involved in the industrial side, have done a lot of testing hundreds of thousands of dollars of testing with primarily diesel. And these are done on with very stringent testing conditions by third-party labs. And we have seen a range from 3 to 15% in fuel savings under the most stringent punishing conditions where everything is accounted for, including using the same driver on the same track, going at the same speed, et cetera, et cetera. So we have extensive testing in place, but more importantly, we have all these testimonials that you and we've been getting over the years that tell us this product works.
Yeah, and I think that's the same thing. It's kind of like one of those things that it is hard to tell every single time. And I always tell people, I can say what it's done for me, but I also admit my testing is not very scientific. This is me in my car driving under no controlled conditions. But we have so many testimonials. I literally have zero doubt that the product is very beneficial and doing exactly what you say that it's doing. And just an example, everything that you've said that it's doing, we have testimonial after testimonial after testimonial backing those exact same things. So just a couple more questions here. One of them, because some of the newer tanks are a little bit different with no cap and stuff like that, how do you recommend or how do you put the pills in if you have a double capless tank?
So this is actually pretty easy, and there are two ways to do it, and it's really up to you. One is you just slip it or insert it behind the flap, and then of course as soon as you put the fuel nozzle in, it's going to push it through and then blast it with fuel coming out of the nozzle. What some people do is they put the fuel tablet in the nozzle itself. Sometimes you just crack it in half if it doesn't fit in, but that's usually not necessary. But between those two techniques, it's going to work every time. You won't have any problem with it getting stuck and not reaching the fuel. The fuel nozzle will take care of that from the gas pump.
Yes, and I have a truck that has that exact thing, and I just pushed it in with my thumb. No problem. Very easy to do. Just a couple more questions here. One is how much should I use? And a two-part question here, can I use too much?
Yeah, so this is it's very clear, and I'll give you a very straight answer on this. You want to use one tablet per 15 gallons approximately. It wouldn't matter if it's 13 or 17. We do recommend you double dose the first time, and that's because you get the additional benefit of the cleaning that happens with it. So first tank full, we recommend a double dose. Thereafter, one tablet per 15 gallons. Now you say, well, what if my tank is only 10 gallons? It's not going to hurt it. You can still use a tablet. Now, if your car has a 25-gallon tank, use 2 tablets. You cannot overtreat it. You may not get much gain at a certain point, meaning it can only do what it can do up to a point. But there's no harm in overtreating it if you need to. So 1 tablet per 15 gallons or 60 liters roughly is a rule of thumb that I would stick to. But if you overtreat it, it's not going to harm it, and you may actually get better results to a point.
Yeah, great information there. Just as an example, my Prius has just barely a 10-gallon tank. I use a full tab, but I have another vehicle that is a twin turbo V8 Mercedes S63. It has like a 21 gallon. I've still just used 1 tab in there and got noticeably different results. So I think that probably that 1 per 15, 16, 17. But I've even done 1 per 20 and got good results. So, but it's good to know that I was kind of worried that because of not being 100% confident in everything dissolving perfectly, that I was always kind of on the side of using a little bit less. A lot of times I'm the opposite. Most of the time I'm like, well, if 1's good, then I'll use 3. But on this, I've been a little bit more conservative. So it's good to know that you can kind of go in either direction and still get benefit. 2 more questions here. And I think from all the things that you've already talked about, I think I kind of already know the answer to this, but can this help with smog checks?
Yeah, actually, we have dozens probably of testimonials of people, both in our company as well as folks who've used the product, who had this exact experience. They had an old car that failed a smog check. They ran the fuel product through a tank. They ran it for a full tank full of gas, went back, passed smog check. And this is the crazy part. In some cases, it showed 0 emissions. So it went from a failure to 0. Now, you should have seen the look on the faces of the guys doing the smog checks, because they said, what did you do to this car? But they're always looking for, did you mess with the catalytic converter or something? But this has happened many, many times. It won't always work, is really the honest answer. There are times when there's some other issue going on, other than just cleaning through and reducing the emissions. But it's certainly worth a try. It's a very inexpensive way to try and get your vehicle through a smog check without, starting to tear the engine apart.
Fantastic. And last question that this has, and I know we're working on some things to get it looking more exact at the same time, but why at times do they look slightly different color, slightly different texture on the actual fuel tabs, and do they dissolve the same?
So yeah, this is a cosmetic issue only. Then the performance is identical. The dissolving characteristic is unaffected. So it's merely a cosmetic issue, and as you pointed out, it's a temporary one anyway. But no, there's no difference in performance and no difference in dissolving.
Yeah, anytime you're manufacturing things that aren't 100% synthetic color, synthetic everything, it's virtually impossible to have it look exactly the same every single time. So we just wanted to point out that even if it's slightly different color, slightly different texture, it's no issue, and it's to be expected in this type of manufacturing with the tablets. And so I think that's all the questions that we have for the most part. Lawrence, I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for all the research and money you guys have spent in testing this amazing product and allowing us, having trust in us to bring this out to the market, especially at this time when so many people are after it.
Well, that's great. And Dan, thank you very much, not only for this opportunity to answer questions and any others that may come up in the future, I welcome them, but also for taking it to the market and letting people all over the world experience this incredible technology. And it's amazing what a simple little pill can do to a vehicle. But when you've got catalyst technology, great things can happen. And we're so excited that people all over the world are now getting to see the benefit and experience it, both for themselves, their pocketbooks, as well as for the environment. So thank you again for that. And thank you to everybody on the call for their assistance in promoting it.
Yeah, it's our pleasure, and we're just barely getting started here. So again, Lawrence, thank you. I hope that you have a fantastic weekend, and I'm sure we'll be doing some calls in the future again. So thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Dan. Good to see you. Have a good one.
Okay, you too.
Bye-bye now.